Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone, or good morning if you're in India. Welcome to another episode of naradnews. Hope everyone's had a great week. Hope everyone's looking forward to a fun weekend or a relaxed one, depending on what you want to get out of it. मैंने तो इस बार का relaxed ही रखा है. I don't want to. I don't. Yeah, no particular plans. Nothing too great. But after a long time, there is going to be a very nice and warm weekend in Vancouver. So it'll probably be more worth it to step out than it's been in a while. क्योंकि yeah, usually what happens here is during the week you will get a couple of sunny days, and then generally the weekends are crap. It's raining, gloomy. You don't feel like going out. You don't feel like doing anything. But yeah, this time it's quite flipped. So yeah, looking forward to this. Let's see if we can plan a small trip. Go yeah, wahan, idhar udhar, somewhere. So anyway, let's get into today's topic, which this news came out, a couple of weeks ago. Actually, I wanted to share the other one. Let's start with okay, application wise. Then, if you want, Canadians fear for their safety. Yeah, okay. Let's go. Let's start with this one, right? So, I wanted to go over this topic because I think just as this administration, well, it's almost being forced to be very external focused because of the environment we are going through. I also feel there are a lot of internal challenges that Canada is facing. Why does this get in my way all the time? Maybe I can. Okay. There's a lot of internal challenges Canada is facing, and unfortunately, it just doesn't get easier for the for Prime Minister Carney's administration. And I wanted to talk about internal safety a little bit. A few years back, I think circa 2021, 2022, in that time frame, there was a documentary on YouTube which talked about crime in Vancouver. And they did some research and basically found out that I think 40 people are committing more than 90% of the crime, at least in Canada, right? And there is similar news from Ontario. Basically, you have a small number of people committing a large proportion of the crime. And the reason for this is basically the way justice is served is a revolving door policy. So you can have someone commit a crime today and they are released because they are required to be lenient with sentencing. No matter how many times the same person commits the same crime, there is no increase in the amount of punishment that can be meted out to them. They essentially have to be let go. They do the same thing, they're caught again, do the same thing again, and that's how this revolving door gets created. Now, I'll share a personal anecdote. Now, I understand this was my fault to begin with, but hear me out. So, once I had a friend visiting from Seattle, and we decided to take a walk. In Vancouver, there's an area called Cole Harbor. Now, to find parking there is a big nightmare. So we basically parked in one of these covered parking lots run by one of these private companies, right? And stupidly enough, I left my entire backpack in the passenger seat in the front. I must have been gone for about 45 minutes, maybe about an hour. Came back to the car. The passenger window is completely smashed, and they literally just took my backpack and left. Nothing else was taken. Just they saw the backpack, that's what they wanted, they took it. Right? My personal laptop was in it. Thankfully, none of my identification document was in it, at least not at that time. There were no external hard drives or anything, so I kind of got lucky over there. And I had, there was a lot of scanned documentation sitting on that laptop, right? Because at that time I was a Canadian permanent resident and I had applied for citizenship and blah blah, like naturalization. So thankfully that application was also gone, so I didn't necessarily need my data anymore. And when you become anyone who's watching, and if they have become a naturalized citizen, they know that you have to show how many days you were in the country. That's always that's counted, that's looked at very closely. So you have to track for 3 years when I left, when I came back, why did I go wherever I went, for how many days. It's in that it's best to be as comprehensive as possible. So really, I was glad that I didn't necessarily need any of that data because I'd already used it, applied, and whatnot. Thankfully, I had already done my master's program, so all the work that I had related to the classes and the coursework, one, it was already sitting in cloud. Two, I didn't really need any of it urgently because hey, I had already graduated and I was looking for a job and everything. So I was in that transition phase, so I kind of got lucky. So called up 911, and the first thing they said was, "Are you in immediate danger?" I'm like, "No, but my car has been broken into." So they directed me to another number where I had to wait 15-20 minutes to be able to talk to emergency personnel, maybe a cop, maybe I'm not sure who exactly would answer on that line. No, actually, sorry, yeah, no one answered on that line, right? Waited for 10-15 minutes. Luckily, a police car just came into that parking lot by itself. So I went to the gentleman and I told him that, look, this has happened. I'm on the line. No one's answering. 911 said to call this number so that, since it's not immediate danger, they asked me to go through a different channel. And now you are here. Can you help us? And he was a kind person. He's like, yeah, sure, I will help you. He's a policeman after all. He saw the scene. He noted down a report. But he basically flat out said that, look, there is very little chance that we can recover your backpack. From time to time, we do recover some items. So just can you give us a number so that we can contact you? Now, that was that. I was okay to lose everything, but I was in a very unique spot that day, that I faced such a sort of personal catastrophe almost. But I just got lucky that it didn't really bother me. Apart from losing my personal laptop, I could afford to lose that laptop because there was nothing important on it that I already had it backed up, and I just got lucky there. Now imagine if someone didn't get as lucky. Maybe someone decided to smash in their car even more. Steal more things. Maybe get into their trunk. Maybe look for other things in the glove compartment, and maybe they left something valuable in the glove compartment. The story can snowball into much worse. Maybe They had documents on their laptop for which they had no backup. So I know everyone, I know all of us are always encouraged to have a backup and then maybe a backup of a backup, but sometimes, life happens at its own pace and you may forget to. Now, I'm a tech savvy person, so I was able to make sure that that an incident like this does not affect me. But again, there are other people in this world who may not be as tech savvy, who may be just very, very busy. Like I was in a transitory phase, so I didn't have to worry. So anyway, just to start that off, but let's look at this article. Now, new data from Angus Reid. So this is a study and I'll open that up. I think if you noticed, it was already sharing that screen as default, but let's go over this one and we'll go over that poll quickly as well. I don't want to keep this too long, but we'll do a discussion. 3 in 5, that is 62% Canadians believe that over the last 5 years, crime has been rising in the communities where they live. Not surprised, you go to Vancouver downtown, you will see a lot of homeless people just drugged out. A lot of the times they also just enter the public transport. They obviously do not pay the fare, and they are a nuisance to everyone around them. Look, I'm not saying that there is not a story behind all of them, but all I'm saying is because of the weak decision making process, or maybe the process is strong, but the outcomes are very weak and not, well, it just seems like it's not even serious at this point. They are allowed to live and be harmful in society. Like I'm telling you, I've lived in a very large section of North America. Like I've had experience living and working in many states in the US, at least in the bottom 48, and in, 3 provinces in Canada. And I'll tell you, the only place I ever faced explicit racial not attack, but like a verbal racial, I guess a verbal racial thing, verbal racial, like racial speech directed to me was actually in a bus in Vancouver. Drugged out guy just gets in the bus, decides to get a little aggressive with me, takes my phone, puts it on the ground. I ignore him, keep the AirPods, pretend I'm not listening to anything. But no, that guy just had something. And when the bus started moving, he wanted to get off. So he actually just broke the bloody emergency glass, pulled the door open and just left. It's, I'm used to, I don't care for one random asshole, right? You'll always find such people, but just putting it out there. And yeah, I'm someone who's worked in very, very, you could quote unquote, you would expect to see more racism in many, states which are known to have, many, you could call it, certain, you could call them basically redneck country, where you may statistically expect more, but I actually didn't get anything. Like I worked in Louisiana. I literally had a small car crash in Alabama. I was helped by people of that state that whole time. No racial comment there. I went to a school in Indiana for 4 years. Never had any racial issues there. Again, I worked in North Dakota for 3 months. North Dakota, like on a process facility site. Like that was my job at that time. And again, never anything. Only in Vancouver, one of the most quote unquote progressive places. The West Coast is known to be liberal, progressive values and all that bullshit. Um, so yeah, in Vancouver, I actually face such things. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much. So let's go down this. Not only not only are Canadians feeling less safe in their own neighborhoods, but 4 in 5. How do I pause this? Okay. But 4 in 5 reported that they have been the victims of attempted fraud attempts online and through phone calls, which is fine. I mean, not fine, but I guess fraud and fraud and phishing phone calls are less harmful than direct physical harm. Although I'm not trying to say that it's not something worth looking at, but at least it's not physical imminent danger. Fraud and identity theft. New data from the non-profit found that 3 in 5. Okay, Angus Reid noted. While 13% of those surveyed said they have been a victim of crime which involved police, such as an assault, a break-in, fraud, and identity thefts attempted at least, were far and away the most common widespread. Fraud and identity thefts were far and away the most common widespread illegal activity. There is not a single day that I don't get one of these calls. And of course, before I used to pick these phones up thinking that someone really wants to talk. Over time, now what I've done is there's a blanket ban on any unknown number calling me. I'm like, if it's important enough, they will leave a message, I will read it, and then I will know, okay, that this number is worth calling back. And they will always leave a voice message, and it's always press 1 for English, press 2 for Chinese. I'm like, I don't know why you're targeting me. I don't know a lick of Chinese. But anyway, that's a very typical scenario. Or they'll just start talking to you in Chinese, and then you're just like, okay, I know this is a dead end. Anyway, let's go down. More than 4 in 5 Canadians say they have been the target of an online or phone scam over past 2 years. I guess the best way to not be a target of these, as I just mentioned, is, well, unknown number, ignore it. If it's important enough, 1, either they'll call you back, 2, they'll leave a voicemail. And when one of those things happens, you know that the number that called you is legit, is worth responding to, right? Let's look at this. This is more interesting. Shoplifting incidents are at their highest level in decades, following a drop during COVID-19 pandemic. Well, the drop during COVID-19 was because no one was outside. So I think that's more of an anomaly. That's when you plot a bell curve, that's that outlier that you have to discard in your analysis because it was such a outlier event. Literally no one is allowed to be outside. So that's why you saw a drop. I mean, heck, you're gonna see a drop. Increased financial pressures, mental health, addiction issues, lower police staffing levels, and other aspects are credited for this. Curl noted. I wonder who Curl is. Good point. Let me go back. Let me do a quick find, right? Curl. Yeah. Shachi Curl, Angus Reid president. Okay. So, I'm not surprised, right? In my previous live, which is about buying cars in Canada, I did an analysis taking a very economical car and showed that because of the devaluation of the Canadian dollar, meaning the Canadian dollar just means lesser in the world than it used to, or just 5 years back, 10 years back. I took a 12-year timeline because that's how old my car is, and I basically concluded that the same car that has increased in the US by about 20%, that same car in Canada has increased 43%. Now that's one car, and there are other lives on this channel which go into what the Canadian food pricing has gone, and literally I think 1/3 of the Canadians said that they have at some point considered eating less because of the shitty cost of living, and that theme is haunting us here again, right? Increased financial pressures, mental health and addiction issues. So the mental health and addiction issues, I would feel, would be much easier solved if you, one, got rid of the revolving door policy, two, shut down these goddamn safe supply clinics. Like, what the fuck is this? Like, the government is literally giving these addicts drugs. Oh god, that's a topic in itself. But yeah, there's literally safe supply clinics in Canada. Like, there, Canadian administration is just obsessed with controlling the supply of shit. Everything. It's like they want to do supply management in dairy. They also want to control the supply of drugs, not stop it. Like, control the supply of drugs. What the fuck? Anyway, that's like a whole different topic, and it requires like deep dive research and everything. So I'll table that for another time. But yeah, so of course the mental health and addiction issues, like, you're literally actively contributing to that. So I'm not sure. I'm not surprised at the finding. I know this person is just, they are just the president of um, it's a independent research institute, but at least that's how they claim it. I don't know the back stories and everything. Every research institute, independent or non-independent, has leanings, but overall, when I read their poll, I wasn't. I felt it. I felt it to be believable because 2 3 incidents of this sort have happened to me. One was that theft. The other one was coming out of a mall. This guy completely drugged out on something. He's laughing, and then suddenly he just shows a knife. And this is a mall in downtown Vancouver, like a very fucking high end mall. It's expensive to go there. We were just in the food court, so by no means that rich or anything. But yeah, I just flipped a knife, and it's this is peak hour in the evening. This guy just flips out a knife, and, well, not flip it out, but he's showing it, right? That, okay, I want something. Otherwise, here is a knife. I can do something to you. Thankfully, we just were able to walk back inside. So this happened right at the door, the automatic opening doors. This happened right at the door. We were able to just go back in and go into a shop real quick so that guy couldn't follow us. But yeah, completely filled with people, peak hour, 6 p.m., and no freaking fucks given. So again, yeah, if you're gonna actively safe supply them drugs, that's what you're gonna get. I've literally seen a person peeing on a fire hydrant in downtown. So, and yeah, I've seen it. Like, obviously I can't show you a picture. I took a picture, but I can't show that. So, anyway, no one is watching this now. It'll get demonetized even before anyone watches it. So, yeah. Of those who work in retail, 40% said they have dealt with shoplifting incidents many times, compared to while 24% said it has happened once or twice. Again, quarter of a country is saying they've been in an incident once or twice, and 40% are saying they've dealt with incidents many times. Wow. So 40%, close to half the country is saying, or half the people who work in retail are saying that they have dealt with shoplifting incident many times. Many times means it's basically now they almost expect it from time to time that it will happen. Maybe it's not happening every day, but I don't think that's the benchmark we want to set for ourselves, do we? So another 40% verbal abuse, 43% victim of physical threats. Physical threats. I mean, this is again only in retail. I'm not in retail. I've also faced it. I just narrated my incident. And in fact, I don't know if it's physical threat, but physical threat, okay, if someone's going to show me a knife and then try to signal to me that they're going to try and rob me, then yeah, I would consider that a physical threat. So yeah, let's actually go to the poll real quick. I'm going to discuss some points there, because the one thing Canadians love is compare ourselves to the US. Even though I think we are at an unprecedented time where Canada should focus on Canada itself, let the US do its own thing. Obviously, all of this falls on deaf ears. That's why Canadians love comparing themselves to the US. So I will also show you some data with respect to the US, how we are faring. Okay, so here is the actual Angus Reid poll that the previous article was citing, right? Again, the source is given. None of this is made up. None of this is, I don't get paid for all this. I just like doing it. That's why I'm doing it. Let's go down. Yeah, let's open this up. 13% victim of a police reported crime in the past 2 years. 13%, little over 1/10 of the population, have had money or private information taken through fraud in the past 2 years. 30%. Simple fix, I'll repeat it again. Unknown number, ignore it. If it's important enough, they will, one, either call again, two, they will leave a voice message, three, they may leave a text message if it's really important as well. Change since 2015 in number of people saying their neighborhood is safe to walk alone after dark, 32 to 17%. This is shocking, disgusting, nothing to be proud of. Yeah, I don't have too many, I don't want to waste too many words on this. Let me do one thing, guys. I will move myself a little out of the way so that I'm stuck right over here. I guess everyone can remember that one. Oh, I'll put myself here, at least while this image is on the thing. Okay. Proportion of retail workers that have dealt with shoplifting in the past 6 months, 65%. So most of them have in some form or the other. Again, I think the Toronto Sun article was maybe using a different time frame, or they were using a different data set, God knows. But they had 40%, 65% is, well, more shocking. I'll put myself back now since you've seen that. Now let's see, percent choosing crime and public safety as a top issue over time. Literally nothing in June 2014 to about 1/5 of the population as of December 2025. Crime increasing in their communities past 5 years, 62%, not a shock. If retail workers are saying they are literally, all of them have seen some sort of shoplifting. Yeah, like 2/3, almost 2/3 of Canadians have seen crime rising in their communities. So yeah, it's a proud moment. What can I say? Now, let me find that. Yeah, Canadians are more likely than Americans to say that crime is rising in their community. 62 versus 39%. There we go. So the US has 10 times the population, and their number is 50% less than ours, almost, right? I'll do an exact calculation since I actually do like exact calculations. So we do a quick BOTI, right? 62 minus 39, 23 over 62. Yeah, 38% lower than Canada's. And mind you, US is a country which has cities like New York, Los Angeles. I've been in Los Angeles public transport. I've seen a guy just sleeping in one of the subways. He's just sleeping on the, like, he's just on the floor, like maybe drugged out, maybe just tired, God knows. But yeah, he was just sleeping. And like I've been to LA downtown. I've been to Manhattan. Manhattan, okay, not bad, but well, depends, I guess, where you are. But if you go to all those touristy places, it's fine. I have been to downtowns in southern cities which are basically all hollowed out. Like you don't go there. Like Tulsa downtown. Tulsa downtown is not bad. It's mostly businesses, but still like very empty. I don't think I saw anything bad there, but it just felt a little off in certain sections. I've been to Chicago downtown countless number of times. I have been to Seattle downtown. I have been to um, Portland, Oregon. That's probably my most horrifying US downtown experience, to the point that, man, it's almost like it's almost, it felt dystopic, like what I saw there. And after all these downtowns of some of the most unsafe areas in the States, Canadians are more likely to say by 38% that their crime is rising in their communities. We are a country of 42 million people. Again, 1/10 of the population, maybe okay, 1/9 because so many people have been filled in since 2022 that okay, maybe we made some progress on lowering that ratio. But yeah, that's that's where we are. Recently, Kushal Mehra's Charvak podcast, they did an episode with a gentleman by the name Darshan Maharaja, and they were talking in another context, but they covered a lot of crime that has been happening, gun crime, and all the other types of, yeah, I don't know what it's called, like ransom rackets that are running across Canada. So, yep. Please go watch that one as well. Again, I don't know Kushal personally or anything, but I watched it, so I'm recommending it. Canadians and Americans are equally likely to have been victim of a police reported crime over the past 2 years. In each country, 13% say this. Okay, let's heave a sigh of relief, I guess. Okay, both the countries, only 13% are saying that they are equally likely to have been a victim of police reported crime. Okay. You know, there was some other good stuff. Okay, I guess that's it. Let me just do a quick search for the word America and see what all pops up. Okay. Oh, we can go over all these. Interesting. Okay, so I will. Oh, cool. So, okay, US Canada comparison. I missed that. My bad. Police reported violent crime rates per 100,000. Violent crime in the US are falling, and they are literally reaching Canada's level. Again, US data unavailable for 2021. Fine, we can, but I guess they have dealt with that by not even showing that data point, which is fine, which is a fair way of dealing with it. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe this isn't okay. No. So per 100,000, US is going down. Again, remember this, guys. 10 times the population. If you plot these numbers for India, they would probably be through the roof. The reason is 1.4 billion people. You're just gonna find bad shit happening. You can't avoid it, right? 10 times the population is almost at the level, maybe slightly higher, maybe about 20 to 30% higher than a country of 41 million people. I will keep saying that today. Crime trends in both countries have fluctuated in recent years, but Canadians are much more likely to perceive crime as rising. I'll try to steel man the other argument, the other side's argument as well. Maybe Canadians think of smaller things as bigger crimes. Just maybe. I have no way to be able to prove it, but the reason, or one, again, hypothetically speaking, since weapons and guns, firearms are much more easily available in the US than Canada, Canadians are just not used to even thinking that someone may have a weapon. And so maybe the threshold for classifying something as a pure crime is much lower. That's why Canadians perceive it as rising even, I'm just trying to give a reason for the other side. But anyway, but it still doesn't explain, like, you can maybe, you can maybe explain some of it away with that, but I don't think the increase that we are seeing, uh, the argument can explain all of that away, right? Americans are still far more likely to say that crime is increasing than decreasing, though many say there has been no change. Okay. Uh, okay. So again, Canada, US, we already went over that. Political views drive perceptions. For the past 5 years or so, would you say there has been an increase, decrease, or no change in the amount of crime in your community? Looks like Trump voters have said increase 49%, Harris 32%, no change. Oh, even in Trump voters, that's quite significant, 36%. And even in Harris voters, it's pretty significant. So wow. Um, I mean, anyway, overall, we could sit and analyze this, but it's just simply not the topic. I'm not getting into the political leanings of the governments in the countries today. Similarities between the countries on the measure of whether or not Canadians and Americans feel safe to walk alone in their neighborhoods at night, little difference is noted. Approximately 2/3 in each country feel safe, while 1/4 feel unsafe. I find this very interesting after seeing that differential between I guess 69% and let's go back up real quick. Yeah, I find this very interesting after that crime is rising in their communities, such a huge number, and then by the time you come back over here, not this one, yeah. By the time you come back here, it's saying the pool of responses. No, I'm in the wrong. Yeah, and then by the time you come back here, it's basically almost the same. On the measure of whether or not Canadians feel, I guess, at night, yeah, I'm not sure how to explain this. We are saying that Canadians are more likely to say crime is rising in their community. But then walking alone at night in neighborhoods, more or less, we have similar data. I find this very interesting. So maybe somehow in Canada, even though there are more people saying there's an increase in crime, people are still feeling safe walking alone at night. One of the differences could be is Canadian cities literally have downtowns that are not just focused on businesses, so they don't empty out once the evening comes in. This is my hypothesis. And since most of the population of Canada is concentrated in 5 to 6 dots, you have people living in smaller areas, so maybe they are able to always find a crowd big enough where they can walk through in the night and get home safely. Like the way Greater Vancouver area is set up is you have multiple quote unquote town centers. One is your Vancouver downtown. The other one, if you wanted to consider, would be Metrotown and Burnaby, Brentwood and Burnaby, Lougheed. In Coquitlam, there's Coquitlam Central, like Coquitlam Center. There are in Surrey, you have King George, and that whole Surrey Central King George area, even though that's considered very unsafe. So, but I guess if you just, and since a lot of people live in tall condo buildings, these quote unquote skyscraper apartment residences, you basically get off a train and you're quickly inside your building in like a 10-minute walk or something. I'm assuming that is a part of the reason why these numbers are similar, even though Canadians are likely to think that crime is rising. Or maybe the Canadian denominator or the basis, the starting point is so low. And again, maybe what Canadians' threshold for thinking of crime is a lot lower than Americans. So I think a lot of those kind of factors are also playing into these numbers. But again, even if we are getting so close, even if US and Canada are sort of converging 334 to 252, that's not a large difference, then it is definitely something to be concerned about. So with that, guys, I will leave it there for today. Where is my scene? Yeah. So I'm going to leave this there for today. And this is just, hopefully this is some food for thought for everyone. And unfortunately, there's a lot of policies that simply need to change. This revolving door has to close. Someone who has done the same crime, I'm just hypothetically saying, someone who does the same crime thrice, man, they should just, for someone like that, bail should be an exception. You just can't be handing out bails like popcorn. There are ridiculous things that have been happening. You cannot you cannot take into account the legal status of someone. Actually, you should. If they're illegal, they should just be deported. Very simple. But if they are a temporary resident, or if they are a permanent resident, if they are a citizen, you cannot be taking that into consideration and lightening the sentences for crimes based on that. There is no progressive thinking in that. You are literally incentivizing people to not behave themselves, right? In fact, if they are on temporary visas and they are committing crimes, they should just be told to go back. They should serve sentence in Canada according to Canadian law, then deported. And then the home country can do whatever they want with them. Not our problem. And that is simple common sense law. Why do we have to overcomplicate it? And when you overcomplicate it, you actually end up hurting the very people who literally just live, within that one standard deviation on the bell curve. They're just living their lives normally, go to work, come back, pay your taxes, which are too many anyway, but pay your taxes and just call it a day, go to sleep. They don't want to do anything with the government. They don't have anything to do with the police. They probably never even seen a police station in their life. You end up hurting those very people. Anyways, guys, have a great Friday. And if you're watching from India, have a great Saturday, Sunday, great rest of the weekend. And see you hopefully tomorrow again. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.